Welcome back to another of our daily devotions. Today we're finally getting to the creation of humans in our Genesis 1 reading. So we have picking up in chapter 1, verse 27. Then God said, in 26, God said, "Let us make man in our own image, in our own likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, over the livestock, over the earth, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. So God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, and over every living creature that moves on the ground." Then God said, "I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food. And to all the beasts of the earth, and to all the birds of the air, and to all the creatures that move on the ground, everything that has breath and life in it, I give every green plant for food." And it was so. God saw that all that he had made, and it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. Okay, so a few things to point out here. We'll kind of go backwards. Day 6 is the only one where it says it was very good. It was very good. Not just good morally and good in terms of quality, but very good, exceedingly good. So that is distributive to humanity, but it's not distributive only to humanity. It says he saw everything that he had made. So God is pleased with creation. Kind of going backwards then too, we have God giving all of the animals and the plants and the stuff for food. So there's no kosher, there is no kind of, we're only designed to eat this thing this way, none of that sort of stuff. It might be right and good and helpful post-fall to, have some eating guidelines and to put that butter stick down, Paula Deen. But, in Genesis, just from Genesis, no, it's everything. Again, we talked a little bit last time. I don't know what this does about death, whether Adam and Eve were able to hunt and kill animals and eat meat, or whether they were just wandering through the garden as fruitarians. So I don't know, but I think this is one of those things that, again, pushes me to suspect that the time spent pre-fall was rather short. Not that you can't survive on fruit and veggies and that kind of stuff, although eating them does entail death of that plant. So we've got some issues here if you're doing root vegetables and that kind of stuff. So again, I don't know what to do with that. But again, that's approaching this text in bad faith, looking for sciencey answers and not for what God has to tell us. So I will say that the chapter 2, the creation of Eve, is a whole different thing. And so structurally, you have God creating Adam and Eve on day 6. Then it seems like day 6 is going to be longer if you go and read chapter 2. What do we do with that? How do we harmonize it? Well, I'm glad you asked. However, that's the subject of another whole podcast, probably about an hour of what you can do with it. Suffice to say that what I think in the short term is happening here is, here's the quick answer. Now, as we're rattling off how everything got made, and then chapter 2 circles around to the relationship between man and God and woman and man, and chapter 3 then gives us how the relationship between man and God is broken, how the relationship between man and woman is broken, and then how it's going to stay broken until the eschaton, until the end times. So I think, trying to line everything up, and people do this a lot with Revelation, and that's in bad faith as well, trying to get the dates and the times and the right Antichrist in the right order. Just leave it. I think this is kind of one of those things in terms of harmonizing chapter 2 with its longer, no helper for Adam was found, deep sleep, here's woman. I'm going to leave that all off. Suffice to say that narratively, there's things you can do. Introduce the idea, this is how humans are formed. Now we're going to talk about a relational thing and foreshadow what's going to happen here in the next 2 chapters. Heaven forbid our English teachers are actually right and there's some foreshadowing. Right? Okay, so again, there's 2 other parts here. One, dominion over the earth, that happens pre-fall. So to some extent, all of the Christians don't believe in Christians believe in stewardship, not in sort of the environmentalism. Environmentalism has a zero-sum gain kind of take to it, and if something increases, something has to decrease. That's not found in Scripture. That's not supported by our doctrine of God supporting and sustaining everything and holding everything together moment by moment through his might and through his will. We are charged with stewardship, and so Genesis 1 gives us you're going to be accountable for this. You are going to have them. They are yours to do with. Now, please don't put chemicals into the Willamette. Don't just clear cut all of Amboy. This is not a good thing for us to be involved in. So it's stewardship and not environmentalism. So that you'll get another sermon out of me whenever Earth Day's on a Sunday. That happens from time to time. You'll get the famous Pastor Zemke stewardship of the earth sermon out of me. The final thing to talk about, though, is that God creates both man and woman out of his image, or in his image. What's this mean? We are created with righteousness and holiness. It's long been thought that it's rationality. That's kind of the Catholic answer is it's rationality. If that were true and we lost the image of God, it would mean that every time you made a mistake or of reasoning or logic, you had sinned. After this creation account, you can really see we were never created omnipotent, clearly. We were never created omniscient, clearly. Human reason has always been limited, and human reason has always been fallible, and you see limited human reason at work in Genesis 3, in the fall, when they're arguing with Satan there, when Eve is arguing with Satan. If she had perfect reason, which she's supposed to, if that's what the image of God is, she would have been able to outwit Satan and out-argue him. But she doesn't, and she has weakness of will, and she's just kind of duped. And then she gives it to Adam, who should have been protecting her. So when Lutherans talk about this image of God thing, we talk about it as the loss of righteousness. You had righteousness. You were perfect, morally perfect before the fall. Now after the fall, you've lost that. That's what Christ is restored. And again, I did not get any better at algebra after my baptism. Just, nope. So we know that Christians don't reason better than non-Christians, right? That's a personal, person-by-person sort of deal. It is righteousness. That is what is restored in your baptism. It is what is restored ultimately on the last day, where we believe, teach, and confess that Christ will surely resurrect our human bodies, but he will not resurrect the old Adam. That old Adam has been struck a fatal blow in baptism and is allowed to kind of, the old Westerns where the guy gets shot and he staggers around for 20 minutes and then finally falls over. That's what your old Adam is doing right now, is that classic old Western, you got me, and staggering around sort of deal. Which is why you still sin post-baptism. That, and we all want to. So devotionally, this is, like I said, this is why I did this in a big chunk. What do we do with this devotionally? Well, there's a bunch of stuff. One, we can pray for righteousness. That's a theme throughout the Old Testament. And then in the New Testament, it's just a command. Be holy as I am holy. Well, if you want that God, you're going to have to make me be that myself, because I can't do that on my own. If I could, you wouldn't have had to send Jesus. So there's a time to pray for righteousness, and especially righteousness in our society. Righteousness and justice are closely linked. If we were all righteous, we would all be just. But we can't be just because we aren't righteous. Okay, so while justice is sort of the big topic du jour for Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and now with the upcoming nomination of a Supreme Court justice, whose name is actually, his title, justice is actually in the title, right? We can't be just unless we're righteous. So we can approximate justice, which is what we do, and we're doing okay at that. So that's one thing. You can pray for the image of God, to have the image of God, to have the image of Christ. Those are really powerful prayers, and I commend them to you. We can pray for stewardship of the earth, right? Again, there's a right way to do stewardship of the earth. There's a wrong way to do stewardship of the earth. And then there's just something else entirely, which is what the secular world gives us, which is environmentalism, which is not the same thing at all. However, here, you can pray for the fruitfulness of the earth, right? God gives us fruit. God gives us his bounty. It is harvest time. And so here's an opportunity to pray for the blessings that God has promised. It's a wonderful opportunity. Inside of here, too, devotionally, right, we can, if you're in the journaling section, or if that's what you do for devotion, here's an opportunity to write down. This is kind of an interesting devotional task, and maybe it's like a once every once in a while sort of thing. Keep a food journal for a day. And I know your doctor's probably telling you to do this anyway, but keep a food journal for a day, and then at the end of the day, pray, praise, and give thanks for every single bite that you took, because that was given to you from God. So when we see and enumerate everything that I had scrambled eggs with cheese and a big cup of coffee with milk. There it is. There, I know you all wanted to know what I had for breakfast. Hey, my kitchen is being remodeled. It was pretty decent. There's an opportunity to thank God even in the little things, right? And so sometimes the journaling gets done there. Again, what is the biggest hurdle to your own righteousness other than yourself, right? What is that one thing, that one big sin that we keep doing that we just say, until I get this under control, I won't be righteous? Which isn't, by the way, not true, but is also kind of true, right? Because if you have one sin like that, then you clearly aren't righteous. It's just not true that you'll be righteous once you get rid of it. But again, you can journal about that and scheme and pray about that one thing, and then scheme about ways to not involve yourself in that. So that is kind of all of creation. I'm not sure where I'm going next from here, but I'm going to see if I can get one filmed so we can have another one for Monday morning. With that said, God's blessings to you this day, and have a wonderful day in the Lord.